Welcome to the Squared Away Life podcast. My name is Camden Busey, and I'm back with a guest. Only the second time we've had a guest on Squared Away Life. First guest was Joe Polizzi, and now we have my brother, Kelly Busey, who's a developer. We'll talk about his work, but he's calling in all the way from Bucks County, Pennsylvania, up in the Doylestown area. We're not going to dox you, but I'll give him that much. How you doing, Kelly? Thanks for joining me today.
Good. Doing well. Thank you.
Yeah, today we're going to be speaking about some fun stuff. Kelly and I have been working on all sorts of things. We tweak around and fiddle around with different systems. And people that have been watching this particular podcast and subscribing to my email newsletter, reading my books, watching my tapes, like, doing the stuff, will know that this particular channel is very much into personal knowledge management, and then using that as leverage for achieving your long-term goals, your mission, your vision, according to your values. So I'm very much interested in personal development on that side of things, but there's a whole other PKM kind of technical side to doing that. I've been long in the works of kind of going through chapter by chapter of a forthcoming book that I've written called The Compounding Mind. And a lot of that is talking about just my daily habit of review, in which every morning I look at all my notes, specifically the notes that were written 1 week ago, 1 month ago, and then every year ago. And that has a compounding effect of working through, giving you perspective, helping you to follow through with your goals and to achieve some significant things over the long term. But you can do this with note cards. You can do it with a paper notebook. You don't have to have anything high tech. But what we're finding with the current artificial intelligence tools and the capabilities that are there, if you are using a system like I do with Obsidian and keeping track of your notes and your ideas, and you're writing everything out and organizing it, the AI allows you to do some pretty amazing things. And I've been using it for about a year as just a kind of a personal research assistant, but also like a brainstorming partner. I've gotten into using some tools that Kelly's going to talk about, Claude Co-Work and Claude Code, to allow it to serve as kind of an executive assistant, scheduling my day for me and doing all sorts of stuff. But just in the last 2 weeks, I've gotten to use some really amazing and wild tools with AI agents running on an open source platform called OpenClaw. So we're really on the cutting edge, doing some really wild, interesting things. Some would say playing with fire. Yes, I have been playing with fire, but fire can be a tool. And if we use it and harness it correctly, it can be pretty amazing. But it's kind of a wild time, Kelly, isn't it? Even maybe since the last week and a half since we've been chatting, things have changed, and I've got another Mac Mini at work, and I've got a whole team of AI agents running semi-autonomously 24/7. I've got a shadow organization in the cloud. Well, it's not, I guess not in the cloud, but I got a shadow organization running in the digital space inside of our network here.
Yeah. Yeah. Things have changed quite a bit in the past, I'd say, month, but more so maybe back in November is when my, at least professional life, had changed quite a bit with the models that have come out, and they've advanced quite a bit.
I think people that aren't in the tech space, especially developers, I know in my nonprofit space, we speak of development, but that's different from code development. Yeah. So I live in both worlds, so I have to be careful how I use that word. Development in the nonprofit space is usually speaking about fundraising and donor cultivation, donor relations, all that kind of stuff. When we're talking over here, speaking in tech, we're speaking about coding stuff, developing apps, we're developing websites, systems, building them. And people that are not in that space, I don't think they know the seismic shifts that have happened just in the last couple of months. People play around with chatbots. I find that most people kind of know that AI is out there, and they hear people saying that AI does amazing things. But I'd be hard pressed to find anyone who's done more than have a few chats with it. Like it's pretty
Yeah.
rare that I talk to people in my own life that are doing anything more than that. Now you're doing
Yeah.
more than that, and people that are developing are starting to use it to code. But maybe you can give an overview of your own personal work and explain something like Claude Code and how different that is than copying and pasting things into an AI chatbot. That
It,
the AI chatbot's basically kind of functions more like a glorified Google, but when we're talking about Claude Code, we're light years of a different level. And then when we start talking about OpenClaw, we're getting
yeah.
into just stuff that would blow the average person's mind.
Yeah. Um, People tend to, at least I would say the majority of people use Claude, OpenAI, all that stuff as like a glorified Google search,
Mm-hmm.
um, which isn't bad. It's great for that. But there are some more advanced things that you can do with it. And Claude specifically, and Anthropic is the company, and Claude
Mm-hmm.
is the product. They launched, actually, it's about a year ago, Claude Code launched, and that was specifically for developers, software developers, and for
Mm-hmm.
coding. But it really can be used more than just for coding. It can be
Yeah.
used for manipulating your file system. They've actually expanded the use case to be used more for like PowerPoint presentations and all that kind of stuff that kind of links into it and all that through the product they launched called Claude Co-Work.
Mm-hmm.
So what I use Co-Work for, I use that for, so I have a bunch of skills. So I don't know where we want to start with this, but
You start wherever
there's
you
a few
want.
skills that,
Yeah.
yeah. So, well, I want to get into exactly how I use it, and especially relating to Squared Away Life. I have a few skills that I have loaded into Claude, which all a skill is just a nice prompt. So that can be saved. Um, I have these set up so that when I just type in daily review in Co-Work, then it just goes off. It knows what to do because it has that skill. Whereas if it didn't have that, it wouldn't
It's
exactly
like
know what my daily review would
some
be.
people may have made a custom GPT, for example. That's a different
Yeah,
system. That's OpenAI, but previously and still, Anthropic has projects where you can kind of create prompts. So at every time you talk to that custom GPT or that project, it's got all this background info. So it's at least analogous to that, right? You basically
yeah,
want to create something and say, well, I want this thing to do this kind of thing for me every time I talk to it. Like maybe he's a financial planner. Maybe he's like my, helping me with my
yeah,
nutrition or something like that. Or maybe he's my therapist and he needs to know something about me. This is stuff you would put in a file somewhere so that you didn't have to explain it every single chat thread you have
yeah.
with it.
Yep. That's exactly it. So I don't know if I want to do a screen share or anything, but I
Yeah,
don't know if I have
let's
that set
fire it
up.
up. I
But
think we've got that technical capability.
so Co-Work here, let me go to settings, and under capabilities, like I have a few things down here. So I have, these are the skills. This is the skills section. You have your skills. There's a bunch of example ones too that they have here that you can install. But mine are essentially, weekly, monthly, daily. I have a prayer summary that I run, and then also monthly and weekly. So I
Mm-hmm.
have two weekly plans. Sorry, weekly review and weekly plan, and same with um, monthly and review and plan as well. So um, what these allow me to do is I can just go into new task, and then I can just type in here. I can work in a folder. I like to work in my Obsidian vault, but you can basically
Yeah,
choose any folder you want to work in. So if you have some files you want to manipulate or like a presentation you want to look at, you could choose that in the folder here. And then what I do is I just type in, daily plan, and then it starts running it. So
that's
um,
awesome.
yeah,
So this is way better if you've got you're working on a project. You throw all the necessary files and background into that project. You can grant permission to Claude, this app, to get into that folder and change things. But what's cool about it is it doesn't just spit it out on the screen. It'll actually go in. If like I've been working on Word documents with it, and it will go make changes, and it will track the changes, and then I can comment in Word, hit save, and then talk in the chat, and it will know what I commented in the document and where it was. So it truly is kind of a coworker. It works the way that, you know, a colleague would at work if we were working on a shared document.
Yeah. So I use this mainly for that. More advanced stuff, I actually use the CLI. And
Yeah.
I use Codex too.
Yeah. So tell me what else, like what could this do for you if you're giving it access to your Obsidian vault, right? What kinds of things can it do? Explain so people can follow. Like, I know what you're doing with this, and I do a lot of interesting things, but I'd love to hear you explain it yourself. How do you do a daily review? What's that look like? What kinds of things does the system surface?
So I have a daily plan that I have it run through. So I'll just start at the planning part, just for my day-to-day things. It's just a pretty long prompt, and it says, you know, this is my Obsidian vault. I have all of my, you know, daily journal in this directory. So look through that, analyze all my systems. And actually, I think you went over some of this in a prior Squared Away Life video too. So if you want to reference that, you can. So I ask it to do that. Then I ask it to check my calendar, and I have a time blocked calendar. So it makes sure that the work I have time blocked is, and also my I have it check my things list as well. So I use Things 3, which is a personal task manager.
Do you have an MCP server connected to Claude? How is Claude accessing your calendar and your tasks?
Yes. Yeah, it's through an MCP server, which is different from a skill in that it's a connection to another service.
Right.
And they call it MCP.
Yeah.
Model
Context Protocol. Yeah. It's like it's kind of like an API for the AI system to know how to interact with some external data source.
Yeah, and it's a big fancy technical name too for something that's pretty simple. It's here, connect this, connect this, and then it can go out and read all those sources of information.
Yeah.
When MCPs first launched, they were kind of very technical to use. Like, you'd have to go into a configuration file and type out like exactly how to connect. But now they've put that in the interface, so you can just a couple clicks, you could connect to a bunch of different sources. So I don't know what MCP things you have set up. You might have a better idea of, you know, more day-to-day stuff, because all mine are so technical.
I need to actually revisit my MCPs because I haven't been using them as much once I got on OpenClaw. And still, when I open Claude, I usually get like 2 or 3 complaints, like errors that the MCPs are not working or something, because I haven't been fiddling with them. So I need to do an update and probably just get rid of some of that config file madness that I had when it was bleeding edge, and go back to just some of the built-in connectors that they've included. But my OpenClaw setup, this is for later, but that's kind of taking the place of what I was using.
It's taking the
Claude.
place. Yeah.
So I usually use Claude Co-Work or Claude Code for very specific tasks, not just life general stuff. I'm doing the daily review and that other stuff with an OpenClaw instance.
Yeah. Well, this skill will, it asks it to organize things using the impact leverage analysis. So it puts things in the most important things in the most important buckets, and then I can have a quick glance of what I should be working on. Most of my days, though, I don't do a lot of administrative work. So for me personally, the impact leverage matrix thing has become a little less useful for me because I only work on the most important thing all the time, pretty much. So it
must be nice.
Must be nice. Yeah, but it's also seasonal. Some seasons are more so than, like, more administrative tasks than the other seasons. So at least in the season I'm now,
Right.
I'm working on one or two things.
So the idea here is if you're taking good notes and you're logging them, and then you also are writing down your goals and objectives somewhere in that same vault somewhere, and then
yeah.
you're talking about your progress and what you've been doing. So you're journaling, you're just sharing your thoughts, your feelings, your progress, your updates. And then you connect that system to, your calendar and your to-do list, whether that's an external system or something internal. You've got a task manager. I use Asana because we use that at work, and I use
So I use that at work. So it brings in that, and it brings in my personal one. So
that's
two
nice.
different systems.
And then presumably you might even go a step further and have kind of like a README file or like a personal manual. Some people do this on human teams where they have like a how-to file, like how to work with me. Like here is who I am. Here's my Myers-Briggs. Here's what I like. Here's what I don't like. It's like a manual for a human, like instruction manual for working with Camden or for Kelly. But if you write one of those and put that in your Obsidian vault somewhere, or if you train it as a skill, you stick it in the skill. Now you run your daily review. This system knows so much about you, and it will surface things and organize things for you in a wonderful way. You mentioned the impact leverage matrix. That's something I kind of cobbled together from some other sources and kind of made my own. But it's trying to look at all the tasks I could do, what's going to make the biggest impact, and what turns the most leverage. So you're looking at something. I want to make the biggest impact, but I want a high leverage activity. So what's the most I can do with the least amount of effort, and how much can I stack those kinds of things in the day?
Yeah.
Considering the fact we've got these goals, we've got these deadlines, like all those constraints are true and real. And then my executive assistant, my virtual assistant here, just spits it all out. You go a step further. If you've got a write capability or something, it might even be able to populate your day, your calendar for you with time blocks.
So this will, all this skill is a big prompt. I could paste this in every morning if I wanted to, just in the chat. But I have it as a skill, so I just type in daily plan. It spits it out, and then it says, I created a file in the Obsidian Vault for you, and it creates it in the right place. So then I go and open it up, and I review it. I make changes.
Yeah, it's not always
pretty
right.
much all the time.
You have the admin access. You can override what it says. And it does that sometimes.
And sometimes
it's wrong.
Sometimes I just chat with it, be like, look, I wasn't planning on working on this today. Let's modify it. Then I'll rewrite it quickly. Or I just go in there and edit it, whatever.
That's awesome.
Whatever I'm feeling like. But so that's essentially how I work on the daily plan. It doesn't take too long. Right. And I just kick it off in the morning. I go do some other things, check some other things while it's running, and then I come back and it's ready for me to review.
Cool. I want to talk more about some OpenClaw stuff here in a second, but before we get there, that's a wonderful example of Claude Co-Work. If people have an Anthropic subscription, you can work on this and do some really amazing stuff for $20 a month. I mean, anyone's going to get $20 a month of usage out of this. Especially if you're already in the Obsidian landscape, or even if you just have text, like digital files somewhere. They could be Word documents. Like you can get massive value out of this.
And you just point it to the folder. They'll know what to do.
Exactly.
And also what's nice with Co-Work which is different than a chat, is you can kick off many of these at the same time if you want. So, and because they run in the background asynchronously. So that's helpful.
Tell us a bit about what Claude Code can do and some of the examples of the stuff you've been able to work on. Because even though we're talking here about developing applications and systems, I think that's once people realize what they might be able to do at home. Now, obviously, a real developer, someone who can do this on their own, is going to be able to develop better things. But once people get this unlock, then that gets us to the OpenClaw world, where we can start thinking about developing systems to support our life habits and practices.
So I have this application I'm working on just for personal use
Mhm.
for sermon editing. So I can launch Claude in here. So this is, yes, trust the folder, and this is Claude Code. It's just a
In the
command line
terminal.
interface in
Wow.
the terminal. Yeah. So you can do different things to it. I mean, there's a whole bunch of they can spawn different agents. I actually haven't used that feature much at all. You can, if you're developing a web application, you can connect it to Chrome. So when you can just type out, "Hey, create this web application," and make sure the UI looks, like this, XXX, whatever you want to
Wow.
do it, and then it will launch Chrome for you, and then it will look at the page itself and then
Hmm.
make some modifications. So it it can do a whole bunch of different stuff, and you can also change models by just doing here, and then you can switch to, Sonnet, Opus, Haiku, all those different models. So um, yeah. So thing with this, it's low level, not a great UI for everyone.
Hmm.
And actually, Anthropic saw that, and they added Claude Code to the Claude application. So there's that Co-Work tab that we showed earlier. There's actually a code tab as well. And if you're developing an application or whatnot, you can click on code
Yep.
and then create a new task. And if you have it hooked up to a Git repository, which is a code repository, you can kick off different tasks. Like give it a prompt, tell it what to do. It'll go and look at your code, check it out, do some work, all in the background, so you can kick it off on your phone, and then just go and do something else
Yeah.
while it's working in the background. So it's kind
So
of crazy what
what's
you can do
different
with
here?
that.
People are thinking this is so different from a chat interface, because a chat interface is you tell it one thing, then it comes back to you and you got to sit there and then you respond, and it's really high touch, high attention. You might have to wait a minute or two for it to come back, but you've got to hold its hand and walk it through a whole process. With Claude Code, you effectively just give it more of a high level task or a project, and it will go and run. And there are reports of this thing running for like 5 hours straight. Like you could say, go
Yeah.
refactor my code, go everywhere and clean up any unnecessary bits. Like what this is a big mindset shift, because you can build pretty amazing functional applications rather quickly. Just on Saturday, I built for this basic web application where I had a giant text file, it was a giant Word document actually, with information about 1,300 OPC ministers, and it has their names, their birth dates, their wives' names, so their kids, where they went to seminary, all this stuff, and the format is similar one to one, but there's no one format. None of this is in columns. It's not a structured database. It is a flat file, and I wanted an interactive web interface where I could search, I could click on somebody, I could go click their name and then see all the places they served. I could click a church in that list and it would bring up all the ministers that served at that church. Real basic web app. Would
Yeah.
have taken me months and months of full-time time to try to
Yeah.
parse through all this stuff. It built it for me in half an hour. Now I have to go, and there's a couple oddities, a couple edge cases where the data wasn't parsed correctly, but give me a break. Like, it built the web app and parsed all that data for 1,300 ministers, and most of all of it is overwhelmingly correct. And with the things that I find is incorrect, I'll just tell the system, hey, this wasn't right, fix this. And then it will go fix all the instances. I won't have to go through each one and fix them. But it built the
Yeah.
app.
Yeah.
The point is, I didn't have to pay a developer. I didn't have to do it myself. I didn't have to go through a huge process with a development team and pay all sorts of crazy money to get this thing done. It just did it. And you
Yeah.
can, with barely, just very minimal information or very minimal awareness of how this actually works, you could use Claude Code to create all sorts of wild things for you. And it really opens up a whole different world of possibilities.
Yeah, the rise of bespoke software.
That's
That's
right.
why
That's why the SaaS
the
companies
SaaS,
lost so much market
got
capitalization.
spooked. Investors got spooked with it. So
They did.
it's definitely a reality, though. I mean, especially if you only need something for yourself that you don't really want to pay a subscription. There's so many subscriptions out there. Like,
Right.
pay us $50 a month for this, and you only use like one of the features that you want. So
Right.
you just build it yourself.
Just build it yourself. Yep.
It's not. I wouldn't say it's for everyone, but the tools are getting better, and I think someday soon it could be for anyone. Could be able to do something like that.
Well, this brings me to the OpenClaw issue. Now, I know you've been seeing a lot of social media posts and news, and I've been talking to you about OpenClaw, but have you actually used it yourself yet?
I have not.
Yeah. Okay. It is playing with fire.
Yeah, I've heard stories. There's this one story. This guy told it to confirm. He was having to edit his emails, and he asked it to confirm before it deleted anything. And then it just started deleting stuff, and he like panicked and had to run to his Mac and unplug it.
That.
But yeah,
I haven't had that problem
so
far. I've treated mine as I would kind of an entry-level employee. So I have onboarded OpenClaw and his team of sub agents and given them their own accounts, like I would an employee. And so if I wanted to read look at my calendar or read my emails to summarize things for me, it doesn't have access to my email directly. It has delegated access through the Microsoft Graph API, the way a secretary would. And then I can change the permissions that are granted to that agent to limit the potential things it can do. Same thing with Asana. It has its own Asana account. It has, all this stuff, an ability to do things or not do things. And it has access to APIs, and you can limit a per API access to control it. So basically, OpenAI started as Claude bot, CLAWD bot, and it has this lobster mythology to it. So that's where the claw comes from. They got effectively a polite cease and desist from Anthropic because it sounded like Claude, the AI thing, and it does use Claude if you wanted to. So he changed the name to Molt bot, molt as in lobster's molting. And that didn't take off, and developers working on it didn't particularly like it. He had other problems with crypto bros and other hackers trying to jump ahead of the Git repository and domains and a whole host of other issues. And eventually they've settled on, and now the current name for the last couple of weeks has been OpenClaw. And that is really a wild system. It's an open source system that now has been purchased. It's controlled by a guy, Peter Steinberger, and he was hired by OpenAI after this thing blew up. So it's in house of OpenAI, but they have promised to put this into a foundation. So it's an open source software, but it's being controlled by, you can't really own it, but I guess the Git repository be controlled by or owned by OpenAI, and that makes people nervous because they were a nonprofit, not 501c3 nonprofit organization who's turning for profit. So yeah, the people are rightly suspicious, but you can download and install OpenClaw for free. Effectively what it is it's a simple but yet powerful harness for an AI system that uses a lot of normal functions on a Linux or Unix-based computer like cron jobs, and a whole series of text file instructions in Markdown format. So Obsidian people will like this. And it basically boots itself up when you start it, and you give it a soul. You describe what it is, what its name is, what it's supposed to do for you, and all this stuff.
Like a personality.
Yes. And then you can chat with it, but it writes your chats into memory. It can remember what it was doing if it restarts, or reboots, or improves itself. Otherwise, it can have persistent memory through these text files. So it's a bit different than Claude Code. It's similar in that it can spawn agents. It can go autonomously and start working on things behind the scenes and taking a more proactive approach to helping you. But it's a bit different because it has theoretically access to the entire computer all the time, which is why you should not run this on your main machine. You should, and it's also why Mac Minis and Mac Studios are sold out, because people are buying these and then running OpenClaw on the Mac Mini and just letting it do what it does. And if it can't do something, this is where it gets wild. You tell it, hey, I want you to be able to do this, and it will develop the tools itself. It will code its own programs and apps to enable it to do the kinds of things you want it to do. So over and over again, I have connected OpenClaw to different systems through publicly accessible APIs, and then give it an API key to access Asana or to access Microsoft or to access this. I don't go to the public exchange and download skills. That's where you can get the malware and who knows what's going on there. But I have it develop and write its own connectors and then perfect them through conversation to do exactly what I want it to do. And now it's able to gather data from all these different systems and do all these things that were previously we were incapable of doing. It's really kind of nuts. And people are doing all sorts of other wild things. They're now connecting their OpenClaw to Home Assistant, which is kind of an open source version of, smart home software. And they're going to town. There's a woman named Jessie who's a homeschooler who's doing all sorts of wild stuff, having her OpenClaw instance develop lesson plans and even do meal planning for her family and all this other stuff where it just knows the calendar.
I looked at the Instacart history and
exactly
planned out all their meals for them. That's crazy.
It's wild.
So what kind of personality did you give your agent? I
told, so the one I have working I've got one at work. I'm waiting to install the big one at home. I purchased a pretty high powered Mac Mini, but because everyone else is, I have to wait a while. So it should show up in 2 more weeks. And that one has a lot of unified RAM for a Mac Mini, and that will presumably allow me to run a bigger local model. The other thing about this is it can burn a lot of tokens and cost a lot of money if you're just running frontier models through the API. So what's nice is you want to have a really smart frontier model for the manager of them. But if you're running some basic tasks, you want your sub agents running on local models or really cheap mini models. So I'm working on perfecting that. Anyway,
I've seen reports, just to give people an idea of the cost. I mean, I've seen at least reports online between $25 a day, US dollars.
I've been burning that
on the cheaper side, maybe.
Yeah. And I don't have mine doing stuff 24/7. Like I would like to let it loose and have it do some I've got it ready to do some pretty amazing things, but I haven't let it loose. Like it's going to make some real, start to serve as a marketing strategist and doing a lot of market research and then suggesting content types and it can manage all that, but it's going to take a lot of compute cycles to get that. And I want to get my cost structure under control, because right now when I'm setting these up and I'm developing a lot of new apps for it to use, that's where the expense comes. And you could say, well, just have, write the apps with a mini model. You'll save a lot of money. Yeah, but then it writes garbage code, so developing the apps, you want it to use the best possible model. So it writes the best code.
There are tricks you can do, at least in development. You can create a plan with all these tools have planning mode. You can create a plan with like a high level model and then implement it using maybe a slightly lower model. That is one thing you can do. I typically just use at least these days, I just use the best
Yeah.
model for working on it.
Till
So
it tells you you're done for the day.
yeah. Until I run out of my credits.
I'm in the middle of something,
Yeah.
and then Claude, Opus 4.6, it says, you're done.
Yeah.
Come back at midnight.
Yeah. So people were using OpenClaw with their Anthropic
Yeah.
subscription,
They're Claude Max.
which
And they shut down.
and so that costs $100 a month for the Pro, and
200
it's
for the
$20
Max.
for Pro, 100 for the mid, and then 200 for the Max.
Yeah.
I don't, forgive me, I don't remember the tier names, but there's 3 tiers: 20, 100, 200, and yeah, they've been cracking down on it. Back a few months ago, it was kind of OpenClaw was just a simple project by a few hundred people were using it, and so it wasn't a big deal. But now that it's kind of exploded, Anthropic's they're definitely losing money on those subscriptions though, because the equivalent API costs, which is what they want you to do,
they're
are a lot more.
Well, that's what happened to me over the weekend. I burned through a couple $100 in Anthropic API. If you're just even running mostly Sonnet, but that was doing some heavy development with lots of tools, and then just making a churn on lots of things. So I've since reorganized and I've got a main agent, and then he has 4 sub agents, and I might spawn a 5th and a 6th.
You got a name?
His name is 10x, which is a Latin word.
Okay.
It's not a good name because it gets misdictated as 10x, but 10x is a Latin word that means like tenacious, or somebody that won't give up, like is it's locked on.
Is that the personality you gave it to?
Kind of. He's locked on and never stops, but he's helpful, polite, but he's always a team
focused
player, but he at the same time is proactive, and he's non-sycophantic. You don't want a sycophant. Like, oh, that's a great idea. No. Let's do what you say. You want somebody that's helpful and polite, but you don't want somebody that just does everything you say. You want him to step in and say, hey, that's cool, but maybe there's this better idea here. That's kind of
like it's been a running joke for Anthropic models. Like, you point out something was wrong, and then you go, oh, you're right. It would always do that. It's just kind of a running joke.
It's useless.
They're getting better at it, but mine. I don't have OpenClaw set up, but I do have an agent. I call him Larry.
That's good.
No reason.
It's fun. So I'm waiting for this Mac Mini to come for home, and I'm going to install another one and have that one just effectively running my house and my personal life, my personal business, and then some other side projects, and then having the one at work running all official work business, and it's just 2 weeks running it has been extraordinary, really. And I'm not even getting started, I feel. But running OpenClaw to do all sorts of things I couldn't have done before, or maybe could have done with a lot of brute force and an enormous amount of time that just were completely impractical. Like, for example, we have a learning management system. So we wanted to we have a weekly scorecard that we review at our weekly staff meetings. And that was something that every staff member had to go into their particular domain and run these stats or these queries and copy and paste and put them in the shared spreadsheet. And then we had to update the graph. And that's something that everybody has to contribute to so that we have this scorecard ready for the staff meeting. Well, more than half of those stats now are just being done automatically by 10x. He has access to those APIs, and he's pulling better and more stats, and just without any prompting. And I don't tell him every week. I told him once, I want this every week. It just happens.
Wow.
And then
Did
he
sticks that up as a cron job, or?
Yeah. And then
nice.
he just does it, and he adds it like a nice report directly into our staff Asana project in the right spot, in the right section. It just happens. It just shows up. And then I get data and I realize, if I have questions about the data, I just ask a question and he goes and figures things out. We wanted to figure out who our 5 most engaged students were from the last week. Pulls it up. asks us, well, what's important to you? How would you define somebody being engaged? We tell it. It's like, all right, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? And then it gives me the report. Then we can ask, how many of those people are donors? Or how many of those people are subscribed to the email newsletter?
Because you have it hooked into your
those
CRM.
Are other systems.
Yeah.
It can easily cross-reference all those by email address or that sort of thing. Now, if people are using different email addresses, it might not be able to, but you get the idea. That's the kind of thing that would take a lot of time to do manually. And it can do it just in the course of conversation, no problem. And one other thing, I hooked it to the Google Analytics system over the weekend and said, hey, what are some ways we can, improve the website? I want to make sure everything's running well and clean and tidy and according to industry best practices. And it said a whole bunch of stuff. One thing it noticed, it says, hey, you've got a lot of 404 requests. Let's look at those 404 responses. Broken links, basically.
Page not found.
Basically, yeah. Missing links. Pages, missing broken links, that kind of thing. And we took care of 4,000 broken links that were all like, one of them was to like a JPEG file that was like misnamed somewhere or something. So we added a 301 redirect to that and fixed that. I mean, I didn't even know that
4,000?
Yeah. 4,000 in the last month. 4,000 bad 404s.
Did it just fix up some data for you? Did you give it access to do that, or?
No, I fixed the 301 using the redirect plugin that we have installed on our WordPress site, but it told me to do it.
Oh, wow.
I didn't even know those were happening, but it found all those in our data. And then I was like, oh, I got to fix that. But then it went a step further and it said, hey, you've got this really popular post that's still, even though it's 12 years old, getting 500 views a month. You should write more like that. And it suggested, I said, what would be the 5 most important posts or 4 most important posts you would write in the next month?
It's based on views?
Well, based on searches, popularity. Now it's plugged into our YouTube stats. It's plugged into all those systems.
Wow.
And it not only suggested the post, but since it's hooked into our WordPress CLI with limited access, it can't publish things on its own. It wrote the stubs. It created the posts like that. It suggested. Yes. And it goes in there and I'm like, this is great. Yeah. It tells me that this would be an excellent post to have. You don't have anything like this yet. It wrote the post and then it said for further reading, and it integrates content we already have in our content library as links into there in order to improve SEO automatically.
Wow.
One last thing I'll mention. It's also doing a bunch of market research through our YouTube stats, reading our general email inbox, and getting all the signals that we receive. And I gave it a big long list of X accounts to follow, a list of websites I want to keep tabs on, blogs, podcasts, YouTube channels, all this stuff. And every morning it writes a research brief for me and it emails it to me. It's nicely HTML formatted. I get my phone out in the morning, 5 a.m, look at it, tells me all the important things that are going on, suggests what I should read, what I should look at with the links. And if anything rises to the level of being significant enough for an episode of our Christ the Center podcast, it goes and creates a podcast project, a podcast task in our podcast project under the category of ideas. And it says here, you've got a couple people writing in with questions to your email account about this topic. And I think you should talk about it because of these reasons. And here's an outline that you could possibly use for an episode. Here's a list of potential guests that you could have for this particular podcast. And then if I want, it can go a step further and I could say, write me a draft email to so-and-so and include the podcast scheduling link. You could just automate it.
To go ask them to be on the episode. Yeah. that and you
I
so
could have it
it would
send that
suggest
automatically.
people.
I won't, but I mean,
Well, yeah,
it could, you
that's
know what
the
I mean?
danger part of it. You just
Yes,
want to double
exactly.
check everything, but for all the things you've mentioned, that's fantastic workflow. And you it knew to pull those people
I don't know
from
how it
because you
knew
had them in your CRM or because
some of them, but it just knows
you didn't
online.
have all of them. Okay.
It's doing
Wow.
web research. Most of the people, yeah, we don't. I've never talked to, but they had written a recent book on the subject. It's looking at publishers'
Oh,
websites.
interesting.
It's
Yeah, yeah.
and it suggested an episode on John Owen because someone wrote in with a question about John Owen, but then it recommended someone who's in our reformed space that 2 years ago wrote a book on John Owen and the similar topic. And I mean, it did all that research. An
Wow.
AI agent on its own with general guidance and direction. I gave it my goals, what I wanted from it, and I gave it some parameters. It asked me some questions, but once I did that, it just runs every day. It just does it.
Yeah.
I don't have
That's
to
helpful.
think about it.
One of the things I do is whenever there's a prayer request that comes in, I just log it
Yeah.
in drafts, and it just goes into there, and then I send it off to Obsidian. So there's like individual
Yeah.
posts, which in and of itself is good, but I prefer a summary. So I have that prayer summary skill, and
Yes.
what would be nice is that every morning, if it could send me an updated one. Right now, I manually run the prayer summary
Well, yeah, if you had a
as a
cron,
skill,
it could send you a
but it
text
would be nice
message
to
every
just
morning with
kick it
just
off. Yeah.
your prayer text or create a note or send you an email, whatever format you want. And then
Yeah.
it gets next level. I haven't gotten to this point, but I was having a conversation with AI this morning, asking it for ideas because I don't, I use a lot of Amazon Alexa stuff and don't like it, because it's always listening and then it's using your info to send you ads but people are getting next
Yeah.
level where they're connecting their home assistant, open source, smart home software, to open source smart speakers, and they're attaching voice to OpenClaw so that they not only can you talk to it, but it can talk back and do sorts of some crazy stuff. Here's a great example. Every morning I have to leave. I have to say, trigger word, turn off the family,
Dingus. That's the word we
turn
use
off the
in our
family room
family.
lights, trigger word,
Yeah.
turn off the master bedroom lights, blah, 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 blah. So
Yeah.
it's like programming me. I just want to be able to say, hey, 10X, I'm leaving. It's like, hey, boss, you want the lights off? Yes, sir. That
You want a Jarvis,
don't we
like an
all?
Iron Man Jarvis. Yeah, I know.
But that's what I mean. We're not even this close. Like you can basically do it. It might not work
Yeah.
as well. It's still a bit janky, and this is still for the enthusiast and the tweaker. The person who likes fiddling with it, and people like you and me. It's not consumer grade, but the tech works, which is kind of
Yeah.
nuts.
One thing I struggle with is because I have Home Assistant. That's what I use. I have it installed on a server. It just
I'm gonna
runs the whole
switch over.
house.
That's probably my weekend
It's
project now after
it's
after
it's
this.
nice. Actually, it's a whole OS. You install it
I
on a whole
know.
computer.
You
You
can
can also
install it as a
install it.
VM or you can
You can,
install it
yeah.
on a Mac OS. That was the conversation I had with AI this
Yep.
morning, figuring out which was the best option.
So,
Anyway, go ahead.
and that, I mean, I have things set up so it automates when I leave the house,
Yeah.
lights turn off. When I come back, lights turn on. So I have things set up like that. What I struggle with is thinking of ways to take this a step further because one, cost. Like I have things working right now. I don't want to spend a couple bucks for it to turn off some lights and token requests. You know what I mean? So I
Local
I,
models.
I wouldn't
That's where
want to
the
get to
local
that
models
point,
are.
but yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. Local models would be a much better fit for this.
That's why I spent way more on a Mac Mini than I thought I ever would, because 64 gigabytes of unified RAM or of unified memory, I should say, is not a supercomputer, and it's not going to run a frontier level model but it's going to be able to run a pretty darn good model that could run my house, and can
Yeah.
summarize documents and do some basic tasks. And then I farm out the real heavy lifting to Anthropic API or something like that, or my
Yeah.
my OpenAI subscription. It's
So
a
how,
it's a whole different world, man. It's really exciting and fun just to think about what you could possibly do.
yeah, how did you come up with some of these ideas? Like for your professional, for your work? Because you have this whole system set up. I know you have
Right.
different things that can pull from. Like, where do you start with the ideas?
Where did I
You
get
just
them?
talk to, yeah,
Well, a lot of times I think about this stuff all the time anyway. And since I'm the one connecting all the systems, now I'm finally have here's a part of the problem. I don't have another tech person at work. I am the IT person, which is kind of a problem in its own right because I'm the executive director in my day job. And because I come from an IT background, that's what I do. So that's
yeah,
kind of a role I fill because we don't have anyone else to do that. And so I have all these weird ideas. We've built a really amazing system using some useful tools. So our internal systems are really pretty efficient and functional, and we're already kind of cutting edge for most nonprofits. But now with an AI that can go next level, I find that I can just have crazy conversations with it and brainstorm. But most of
yeah.
these things are just basic connect the API, and I think, oh, well, now I got that. I want to do this. Now I got that. I want to do this. But I would say the best habit to get into, if people are watching or listening to this and they want to know, like, how do I get into the new mode of working? You got to think like a CEO, but you also need to reverse prompt and basically get in the habit of asking your system how it can help you, which sounds so weird. But once you start connecting these things, whether it's Claude Co-Work, ask it questions, my notes, my journal. What do I need to work on? What do I need to think about? That's a form of reverse prompting. But with OpenClaw, it goes a step further because this thing can crank all day long and it can remember moment by moment. And because it has effectively root level access to an entire computer, it can do really wild, amazing things. I just ask it, like I did with the Google Analytics. I plugged it in, and I've had this long problem with Google Analytics. We've been storing Google Analytics for 15 to 20 years. And
Yeah.
I go in there now on GA4 and I feel like I'm like underwater. It's over my head. I'm like, I don't have time to even research this and figure out how to use it. It shuts me down. So I go
So you
into
need
the
to,
system, I plug it, give it access to the data, and I say, here's what I want with my website. What do I need to do? It's
yeah,
like, yes,
help me
boss.
help you.
Yeah.
You name it Jerry Maguire.
And so you tell me the employee that's going to take my phone call at 9 p.m. on a Saturday night and just, you know, just start talking about Google
Yeah,
Analytics and running all sorts of stats for me. No way, man.
I found, uh, for me personally, I found the best way for creativity to flow is to start playing with it.
Yeah.
Like sitting here without installing it and using it. I mean, it is more difficult to think of ways to use it when you just go and do it, and then things just come.
And what's so cool about
Tinker.
this is if you run into a roadblock, you just ask the machine to fix it or build it, whatever, like whatever you
Yeah.
imagine. And if you
So
have tokens
there's
to burn, or if you have access to tokens, or better to a local model that can generate tokens for free plus electricity, um, the world is
yeah,
almost it's a blank canvas.
yeah.
It's incredible what you can do
So
and what you
I
can
um
accomplish.
I review markdown files like, I don't know, like 10, 20, 30 times a day
Yeah,
with work, just with software
yeah,
development.
of course.
It's kind of been the new way I've been working. But
Hmm.
all these markdown editors, they all use this code wrapper called Electron,
Yeah,
which
it's
it's good,
Obsidian,
but it takes up a
right?
lot of memory. Each
Right.
one open,
Yeah,
like you'll see when you have apps open, especially. the ones I do, like Obsidian, that takes up a gig of RAM
Yeah.
because you get Obsidian, Slack, I have VS Code open, sometimes
Yeah.
Cursor. I mean, all these things take up a gig of RAM each. So I'm already, I have 32 gigs, but it adds up because
Hmm.
all these things are open. So what I decided was to ask AI to help me build a Markdown editor, which was
Mm,
which is very lightweight. I don't want it to do exactly what I wanted, which is just preview a file, maybe have two or three open, maybe have a single file browser on the left, but that's
yeah.
it. No, hardly any window Chrome. I want it fast. I
Nothing.
want to open. I want to close.
Yeah.
So the past week I've been working on that, here and there,
The bespoke
and
software you mentioned.
yeah,
And it's going to
yeah,
be
it's been
faster
nice.
because there's no configurability. Like it's just the code to do exactly what you asked it to do. And if you need to change something, you just have it code you another one or just change the code. When you're creating code for the masses, you have to build it in a way where everyone can tweak it or configure it the way they want. That adds to bloat. That's more code to make
Yeah,
it configurable. If you're making a one shot, if you're one shotting this thing to do this specific thing, you just hard wire all of it. And it's going by nature to be blazing fast. It's going to be as fast as it could be, right?
yeah,
Because there's no cruft to it. It only
yeah.
does the thing you asked it to do.
I it was some sort of statistic. I think it's a popular one, but I think 5% of Excel's features are used
Oh, I'm
by
sure.
95% of the people, or maybe it's the 80/20 rule. I
Yeah, and
can't
we all
remember
have
what
to,
it
and
was,
how
but
much memory is that eaten up, and how much
yeah,
storage space to do with a million things that you don't need. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure. Well, it's a different world. I think we should probably cut it off for the day and pick back up. I'm sure that maybe next time we talk, a week from now or whenever, we can revisit. The world to be changed again. But if people have some questions or comments or thoughts, this is like way over your head, or maybe we claw pilled you in this conversation, whatever works, you can write in. I'd be happy to talk. I'm very excited and interested to explore. Just like the PKM world, everyone's got to find their own workflow, their own system that works for them. So none of this is dogmatic. We can kind of coalesce around best practices. But generally speaking, what I love about the PKM world is also what I love about this OpenClaw world, just hearing what other people are doing. And I'm not going to copy and paste exactly their system for me because everyone's different. But by hearing what other people are doing, I always get ideas for how I might interpret and implement those ideas into my own life, into my own systems. So that's what I love about this. That's what Squared Away Life is about, helping people to become equipped to improve and to achieve their goals and their objectives long term according to their values. And one cool way to do that not only is through the journaling and the personal knowledge management, but by implementing systems and assistance, whether human or artificial, to accomplish those goals. So you can head over to squaredawaylife.com for more information about what we're up to. You can comment if you're watching this on YouTube in the YouTube channel, or you can write into us at mail@squaredawaylife.com. Love to get your feedback and start some interaction with you. Kelly, man, it's great to talk to you. Thanks for all your updates and show and tell. And hopefully we can do this again soon.
absolutely. Thank
All
you,
right.
Camden.
We got it. Let's talk next time. We'll see everybody again on Squared Away Life.